what is an alt-right?
What the alt-right is, contrary to what the mainstream media would tell you, is that it is the right wing that has realized that conservatism has failed. It is a right wing that has realized that libertarianism is a utopian dream. And it is a right wing that is absolutely opposed to the globalism of the neocons, to the socialism of the left, but it's not caught up in the conservative idea that you're going to win by playing nice.
Yeah.
I've written a summary called the 16 points, and it's somewhat controversial, but it's been embraced and endorsed by people around the world. It's already been translated into 18 different languages, including Russian and Hebrew. And so, if you want to understand what the alt-right is and what it's becoming, you look at someone like Vladimir Putin is someone who he's not alt-right himself, but his model of national leadership is closer to what the alt-right stands for than, say, the Bush conservatism or even the Reagan conservatism. The alt-right is the strongest nationalist force in the world right now. And the trend is towards nationalism and populism everywhere, from China to the USA to Europe. And so the globalists are terrified of that. And so they're doing everything they can to try and stop it. It's the same reason they attack you. It's the same reason they attack Trump. It's just an ideological battleground. And so we accept it and we embrace the hate.
You know, I'm glad to see white Americans and especially white men stand up for the country here, because for the last 26 years I've been saying that we're losing America because white people and especially white men are afraid of being called racist. They're afraid of the attack, and as a result of that, the country's going to hell in a handbasket. Where will white men stand up? So I'm glad to see that happening, because if you don't, it's over for America, and there's nowhere else to go.
You're exactly right. And that's something that I've been trying to point out to people for a long time, which is it is to everyone's benefit for there to be a strong white America.
Yes.
It is to everyone's benefit for there to be a strong white Britain. It's not just good for the white British people.
Right.
It's good for all the people around the world that they help.
Would Donald Trump be considered as an alt-right?
No, Donald Trump is not alt-right, although he does support a few of the alt-right policies. The alt-right is enthusiastic about Donald Trump. In
Right.
fact, we tend to refer to him as the God Emperor. And it's because he is addressing the single most important policy and the single most important threat to the United States, which is immigration.
Yeah.
You cannot have
I agree.
a nation. A nation is people. A nation is not geography. A nation is not an idea. A nation is people. And when you bring in strange people, you adulterate the nation.
Yeah.
And so, look, if you look at the history of blacks in America, and you look at the very difficult time that they have had, and the fact that even now, 200 years, however many years it's been later, there is still not a perfect relationship between white Americans and black Americans. We still would call them white Americans and black Americans.
Yeah.
That's how difficult it is to make one nation out of two, or more. So then you add on to that the fact that since 1965, the USA has experienced the largest invasion in human history. 61 million people. There has never been an invasion or an immigration or movement of people that big in human history. And the thing that's deeply concerning about that is that large movements of people have always historically led to war. And that's not something that we want to see. That's not something that we want to see in Europe. That's not something that we want to see in the United States. But because of the foolish globalist left-wing ideology of the leaders, the Obamas, the Bushes, the Merkels, the Hollands, the Labour Party, the Tony Blair in Britain, David Cameron, because of the foolishness of their globalist ideology, we're now looking at the possibility of a large series of wars that are considerably larger than what we're already seeing.
Yeah.
And that's something that the alt-right is very, very opposed to.
My friend Andrew Clavin wrote an article comparing them to Black Lives Matter. And I know, and most people know, that Black Lives Matter is an evil, radical, agitative organization that's worse than the KKK. And you responded to Andrew's article. Tell us about that.
I'll have to search my memory a little bit because it's not at the top. I haven't thought about it really since then. But
what do you think of the comparison?
There are definitely ugly aspects to the alt-right. We are what would be called race realist, which a lot of people, especially on the left, will call racist. They think that it is, they insist that all people everywhere are the same, and that if you pay any attention to the fact that people are different, that you must hate them. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Vox, what I'd like to do, I have some callers for you, especially one call I want to get to. But do you have a website, anything you'd like to give out for the folks?
Yeah, sure. If anyone's interested, please stop by voxday.blogspot.com. And if you're interested in reading more about SJWs, have a look at SJWs Always Lie. It's the one with the smiley face and the forked tongue.
Yeah.
And Jesse, you do great work. I love what you do on WorldNet Daily, and I like even more what you're doing for the Christian community. And just so you know, the hateful, racist alt-right, we love you and what you're doing.
Thank you very much, man. That means a lot. Thank you. I appreciate that.